Welcome CSC230 to exercise 11, and this will be JQuery menu. We'll be going back to our Jumbotron layout to do this, and what we'll be doing is actually making a drop-down menu that appears and disappears with a little hamburger menu icon. A couple things I want to show you before we get started. Here's kind of a finished example. If we resize the page, and we already did our responsive design for it, but after a certain point, we're going to have our menu do this so that we actually have a little hamburger menu and the word menu. You can certainly modify that if you don't want the word menu there. You could just have the hamburger menu itself, but I have both just so people know what that is. And then what happens if you were on a phone or anything like that, instead of having navigation under here or having navigation stacked like we've practiced it before, you can actually have it disappear to give you more vertical space. So that way you don't have to have navigation coming down here. And if they need navigation, they could just click on that. It does a little slide toggle menu, which is jQuery, and then you have your navigation for other pages, and then it goes back again once you click on that. It toggles back and forth. That's why they call it slide toggle, and you can see it kind of animates when it does that. That's jQuery, which is kind of a version of JavaScript. It's kind of like a library of JavaScript that makes things a little bit easier. You could do it with straight JavaScript, and maybe in another course we'll do it with straight JavaScript, but for now we'll use jQuery because that'll probably be quicker. So that's what we're going to do. That's what we're doing. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it will require some kind of practicing and trying different things out. So let me just show you the code here for a second before we get started. We will actually make a new folder, EX11, and we're going to duplicate our EX7 folder because that's the last one we had with our Jumbotron. So hopefully you did exercise 7, 8, and 9 and have all that stuff done because this continues that. And what we're going to do when we do this, we can't just copy the folder. They don't have a duplicate button to just duplicate a folder. So you could just download it and upload it. I'll show you how to do that. It's not too hard. And what we'll do is we have to put one image in there, which is the hamburger menu. Now, let me just show you where this is. Under Documents and Resources, under Bookmarks, I have a link here to some code. This code is actually just a place with a refresh script, and that'll come later in the video when we actually have to troubleshoot a little bit. But anyway, I have some code here so it's available for you to use. So this is the hamburger icon. This is the slide toggle script, which we will change because button and P will change. So we'll put the actual ID names in there, or the class names with the elements like li.item and li.menu or whatever we have to do. So we will use that. And this is a little kind of troubleshooting thing here because after we do this whole thing, it doesn't go back to the way it was originally. It doesn't reset everything. So we're going to make the page refresh. We're going to force it to refresh with this code. And we won't have to talk a lot about it. We'll just put it in there. So this is available to you. You can, look up stuff if you want. And the hamburger icon you could also download and put into your folder when you do that, and I'll show you what to do as well. So we're going to be doing all that. So it doesn't look like a whole lot, but we'll have to pay attention and kind of focus on our code a little bit here. And again, make sure that you have exercise 7, 8, and 9 done before we work on 11. Remember, 10 was that kind of practice one, so we will make a new folder just so we're not messing with our original work. So we'll have a whole new folder, which is pretty much a duplicate of 7. So that's what we'll be doing. So let's get started. Okay, to get started, what we're going to do first is just close up this tab. Now I have a tab open for jQuery, which we'll use. So we'll go here to W3 Schools and we'll get the jQuery code, or you can use it from here, although this always logs out on you, so we can always search it as well. Going back to here, I'm going to get rid of all of this. I'm going to get rid of this entire folder. That's what I usually do. I kind of practice it and make sure things work okay and show you a finished product. Then I delete it. But what if I delete it and then I can't figure out something, like I forget what I did? What I'm actually going to do here, instead of deleting it, I will delete it. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to download this. And I'm going to go here to the 3 dots and just put download as zip. Now, they only let you download it as zip. They don't have download folder. But if you download it as zip, what it does is it downloads your entire REPL. And that's good because it gives you backup of it. So I have a backup of it there, of everything I did here, even though I'm going to delete this. So I have that in case I need to get to the code and see what I did. That's just a zip file. It's in my downloads, and I can go in here. If I double click on it, there it is. So there's all my stuff. from my Replit account. So if you ever want to back up all your stuff and you're worried about having it in Replit, or you forget your password, even though that's not a big deal, you can download all your stuff there and keep it for safekeeping. And that way, if I need to go back into EX11, I forget something like, how did I do that? Or what was that code again? If I run into a little jam when I'm recording the video, I have it here. So what I am going to do here is I am going to delete this now. So I'm going to delete this. I'll close this up and I'll just delete the whole folder and I'll show you what to do. Now, I already kind of showed you what to do. You can't download just one folder. I don't think they let you just kind of right-click and download it. You can upload things into here, but they don't let you just download a folder. So what I'm going to do that again. What I just did, I'm going to do it again. So just to show you. So you can't just download a folder. You have to download the whole entire repel of your CSC230 W1. So just do it. I'll do it one more time. Now, it'll make a number 3 or something when I download it as zip. And there it is. So this is what you're doing. And then however you download it, you can double click it to unzip it if you're on a Mac, or you can extract it if you're on Windows. If you have any issues with extracting, just let me know. But you should be able to get inside it. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your EX7 folder and put it back up there. And because you're copying it. So you're basically downloading everything and just putting up a copy of EX7, except before you put it up there, just rename it or make a copy here, call it EX11. So maybe I'll just make a copy of it here. Let's see what happens if I just drag it up here. If I drag it up here, it might try to rename it. Overwrite, no. See, I don't want to do that. So actually, I don't want to do that. What I'll do is I'll just make a copy here. So you can copy paste, or I'm just going to make a drag copy. And that way I have an extra one here. And then I'm just going to call this EX11. And then I'll upload EX11 and it won't have any problem going in there. So EX11 is just a copy of EX7. So that's all I'm doing here. However you do that, just get a copy of EX7 and put it in there. And again, because it's your downloaded version, I guess I could have just changed the name of that or called it 7A or something, and then you could go change it back. So now you can upload it. So there I have it. That's what was originally EX7. Now I'm just going to upload it. And it should upload fine. And what's going to be inside there is your images, your index, and your CSS. And right away, before this logs out on me, here's the hamburger icon. Now, if you click on this, it'll show you the hamburger icon, which is very hard to see. But either way, you still want to download this. So you can right-click and do Save Image As, and just download this to your downloads, and you could do that. Or if you just right-clicked and did Save Link As, it would also save it to your downloads. Now it's calling it hamburger icon 1. I'm not going to do it again. I already have it downloaded. So now I'm going to go back to my downloads. Oh, and it's not on my downloads. I don't know where I copied it to. I don't know where I saved it to. Save link as. Oh, it was going somewhere. It was going in the wrong place. So let me go to downloads and put it in there. That way I'll actually find it. So I'm going to save it in there. So that way I showed you both ways. And now hamburger icon should be in my downloads. Now there it is. So there's hamburger icon. And what I want to do is put that into Replit, into my images folder. So I'm going to go back, and I don't need this anymore. I'm going to go here to Replit, and I don't need this open. I just want to put my hamburger icon in that images folder. So however you do that on your computer, there it is. I'm going to drag it right in there to images. And the only thing in your images should be the fall leaves and the hamburger icon. And you should be good with that. So you shouldn't have to do anything with any new files just yet. We are going to make a JavaScript file so that we could run our jQuery from outside our page, although we still will link to our files inside the page. So we will do that. So I'll go over that eventually, but first what we're going to have to do is just do some show hiding with our images. So we're going to do that next. But before we do that, I'm going to open up my index. I'm going to change the name, my title. I'll call it EX11. You could leave Jumbotron in there and call it Jumbotron jQuery. That's fine. No big deal. Or you could just call it jQuery menu. That's fine as well. And make sure that that's changed. And nothing else will have to be changed yet, except we will put in an extra item for our menu. We're going to have something called menu, and then we're going to put our hamburger menu in there. So let's do that. Let's go in here. And since we are going to identify these by class names, we'll put something in here. So what I'm going to do first is add a new one here. So I'm going to add a new one right above this. So I'll copy this one that says home. So I'll copy it. and then I'll hit return. Now make sure you don't paste over it or delete it when you do that. I've already done that. So I'll make sure I'm not highlighting it when I hit return, and then I'll paste it here. And this one I'm just going to call menu. So I'll just have that there. So we'll have the word menu, but then we're also going to put a hamburger menu icon in there. And we can do it either before or after. I'm going to do it before. So right before the link in here. And actually we could put it, I guess we could put it in here so they're all kind of linked. You could put it inside here, like right next to menu, and like put a space and then go back. Remember, you have to do that if you're using the Emmet shortcut. So I'm going to put a space there, and I'll do it right before menu, and I'll just do IMG and hit tab. And that should work okay as long as you do the space. And what's going in here is you're putting in hamburger menu icon. Now you could do this. You could say copy link of the hamburger image and put it in here, except when it does the full link. But then you can get rid of everything from images back. So it's showing you the absolute URL. You only need the relative URL, which is actually the images folder. So everything from here back, you could put in there. Or if you knew that it was called hamburger icon, you could have just typed images/hamburger icon. So you do need the folder name or the directory name /hamburger_icon.ping. Everything's in quotes here. And you could just I'll just put icon in there. That's all I need. It's not even necessary for an alt tag for that much, but I'll put something in there. So now I have a hamburger menu little icon in there, and it should be right next to the word menu. So let's see what it looks like. I'll hit run here. Now I don't have my page open, so let me kind of move this and open it up in a new page. And there it is. And now I do have EX11, and you're probably thinking, wow, how did that magically happen? Well, for you, it won't magically happen. That's because I forgot to delete that. But mine is there. But what you will have to do is make sure that you go to your root index page. That means the main index page for your Repel. Make sure you open that and make sure you put this here. So when you go here, it's going to look like this. Even though I forgot to do that. It's going to look like this when you go here, and when you go here and you refresh, yours is going to look like that. But what you're going to do is you're going to come back here, you're going to open up your root index, and you're going to copy this again, just like you did for your other ones, so that you have kind of a home page here of all your exercises. And you're going to change this to EX11, and you're going to change this to EX11. And that's it. And you can hit run if you want, but then when you go here, you can refresh it. You'll now see EX11. And when you click on EX11, it'll say EX11. And here we see this menu thing here. Now that's okay, because we're going to hide that and then only have it appear when the page gets to a certain size. So we're going to put that in our media queries, but we at least have it so it's showing up now. So that's fine, but we're going to change that because we're actually going to hide it. And we could use a CSS property to hide that. So that's okay. So we're off to a good start with that. We have our HTML done. So I don't need this open anymore. And from now on, I'm going to go to my index in my EX11. Make sure you're not working on your EX7. Even if you did, it wouldn't be a big deal. So everything's okay now. But what I do want to do is make sure I have proper class names here. This is going to be one that's actually going to disappear, and these are going to appear. So I'm going to want to be able to contact them. Now, I can contact them by their child reference, but I think what I'll do is I'll just give this a class name, and I'll say equals. We want to put class, make sure we do that, class equals menu. So li class equals menu, and then all the other ones are going to be class equals item, because these are the ones we're going to make kind of show and hide. So we're just identifying them so we could tell them to appear or disappear. And I'll put this in here for one. I'll make sure I put a space after the li. This is going to be called item because these are the menu items, and this is kind of the menu. And then once I have this, I'll just copy this opening li tag and replace the other three. So they're all the same. So they'll all be the same, and we're using classes because you reuse classes. We're not using IDs here, and we can use classes because we're actually going to use CSS. We're not even using JavaScript really to control that. So we have our classes here. So we have an li class, which actually contains the menu link and this hamburger icon thing as well. So they're all in that one line. So that one line item, they're all in there. And that's fine. And right now, let's just see what happens. I'll hit run. and I just want to see what happens when I resize the page. I'll just resize the page, and you see what's happening. Now, when we want it to get to a certain point, when it gets this small, even though they fit fine right now, we actually want them to disappear. So when it gets to whatever our smallest size is, we want it to disappear. Now in Chrome, it won't go over all the way. If you try it in Firefox, it'll even go further. But we'll just kind of use this as its smallest size. Now, what we want to have happen is these other things go away. Now, we can even put some space between menu and that hamburger menu if we need to. We could use non-breaking spaces. So that's what's going to happen. And while I'm still in my index.html, I could even do that. So in between the image and the word menu, it's right here. I'll go right here after, or I'll go right before menu, wherever you want to be here. Let me move this over. That might help. Right before menu, what I'll do, now there is a space there, but what I'll do is put a non-breaking space. I'll do the ampersand NBSP semicolon, and I'll do it twice, and then I'll even put an extra space. And I'll move this over just so you can see what it looks like. So there's two non-breaking spaces, ampersand NBSP semicolon, because remember, you can't do multiple regular spaces. You have to do non-breaking spaces. And then I just put an extra space in there too. So if I refresh this, it should look a little separated. That's what I want. That's fine. I mean, I've done it before where we have the menu kind of right justified and this on the left, but that's going to be fine for now. So that's the way it's going to look when it's on its own, even though it's going to disappear. So how do we make it disappear? Well, that's pretty easy. We should be able to do that with CSS. So let's make it disappear first, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll kind of work on the other stuff. So let's just see what we're targeting first. And let's look at our styles, if you haven't looked at these for a while. We have nav menu, and here we have nav menu li, and nav menu li link, and all this kind of stuff here. So we have nav menu li, so that would be a good place to kind of look. Now, this will be in the regular area. It's not going to be in a media query because we're going to make basically that first thing disappear. So I'm going to highlight this, and I'm going to copy it, this whole declaration block, and I'll make sure it's deselected when I hit return, and I'll paste it. Now it's going to be nav menu li, and it's going to be dot menu, because remember, that is the name, the class name, and it actually needs, just so you know, it should not have a space is what I mean, because it's not the menu inside there, it's actually, that's the name of it. So that particular line item with the name menu is the one. So no space in there, and all we're going to do here is say display none. So there's display none, and it's nav menu li dot menu. Remember, no space in there. And let's see if this works. What should happen is when I refresh this, that should disappear. And it does. So that's what we want, and what we want is these to disappear when we come over to about here, when we get to our smallest space, and that we can look at our media query to do that. But once we get to this smallest space, we want this to disappear. Now we do have an issue now because of that space, which we're going to have to fix, because right now when we get over to this point, the first child is now that menu thing. So it still has space here, which we have to get rid of, which we can fix. It's not a big deal. We'll fix that. We'll get rid of the space there. That's actually the second child, and that will actually help us do that. So, but that'll be after a certain query. So actually, let's see where that is. Let's see where we have that extra space. And I think we did that in a media query. So let's go down to our media queries, and there it says first child. And we actually want that to be the second child. So let's see how this works. Let's see if we could just change this one. If we change this one to be second child. Now, there isn't anything called second child. By the way, if you think I'm just going to go in here and type second child, that sounds like it's easy, but it doesn't work like that. The way it actually works is after the first, and for other ones, they have things like odds and evens. The way they do this is they call it nth child. It's called nth child, and then in parentheses, you put which one it is, and it's going to be the second one. So let's see if that works. So I just want to make sure this works right now. So it's going to be the second one that's going to lose its padding. So let's just make sure this works. Because even though the other one disappears, it's still there. So now when we go over here, did I refresh it? I don't know if I refreshed it. Let me see. Okay, I didn't refresh it, so that was the reason. Okay, so now that I refresh it, now the second child doesn't have margin after that. The first child is actually just hidden right now. So that works fine. And it actually won't even matter that much because we're going to have our menu that shows up once we get to a certain point. So it'll look like this for a while, but then when we get to our final one, see, when we get to our third query, that's when we're going to swap these out and put in the other one. So right now this looks okay. I mean, nothing really changed. But what's going to happen when we get to our third media query, these are going to disappear. So we're going to have those item things disappear. And the other one is going to appear. So let's see if we could do that quick before we take a break. So it's going to be in our very last media query at 680. And you could even make this shorter if you want to. That might even, 680, you could maybe make it 600 or something, or 580 and just see what happens. We can mess around with it. But what we're going to have happen is the thing we had disappear, we actually want to appear. Let's find the item that disappeared. Here it is, the one that disappeared. I'm going to copy that. And down in the very last media query, and I'll hit enter and make sure that's inside there. I'll make sure I tab this over, so it looks nice. Now, what's going to happen here? Now, what's the opposite of none? Well, we can just make it block or inline block. Let's just try block and see how that works. So that should make it appear. And how are we going to make the other ones disappear? Well, where are the other ones? The other ones are, well, we could probably just use this. Let's just highlight this, copy it, paste it, and instead of block, let's say none, and instead of menu, let's make that item. Put my spaces in here, and let's see what happens here. Let's run it. Let's refresh it. And we may have some tweaking to do, but let's see what happens. Move over. Okay, there's the first one. Now when it gets too small, that's what should happen. Except we do have to adjust the space here, or maybe we don't. It might not look that bad like that. And now nothing happens when we click on it. But that's going to be jQuery and JavaScript. But that's what we want so far. So let me take a break here. If it's working like this, if you're getting to the point you're seeing that, you're in good shape. So we're going to take a break here, and we'll come back with part 2. And we'll use this so we click on it and it displays the other menu items in a list coming down. So we'll see you in part 2.